Okay, so YouTube censors all of these words and it's automatic with its algorithm. So I don't know what to call it. Let's just say the time period where we all stayed in our homes and businesses were shut down because of the parasitic agent that came from China and spread um, like like a V word, because it is the V word, and we couldn't go outside and we shut everything down to keep it from spreading, from preventing people susceptible to it from dying. And it's the V word that sounds like uh, the drink. This is off to a bad start. I can't even talk about this because YouTube literally is blocks this even after what a year or two of us being done with. Anyway, I'm just this is just this is just a list of all the things that I these are my personal opinions. Well, but they're not just personal, whatever. I've read a lot of papers, I've done a lot of research. I'll probably post links to most of the relevant stuff in the description, but this is what I'm just trying to get off my chest because I think this is important, and there's so many sides of this, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong about some of these things. I'm not an expert, but in my personal opinion, not even the experts knows for certain some of this, and there's just so much misinformation, and in the end it just made everything worse, from the politics to the media. So I don't know. I i want to put what I believe the truth to be out there, so that hopefully we could avoid some of these mistakes next time. And I, even while saying this, I know this is a naive thing, but and I'm probably wasting my time, but it's because I don't know. It's a compulsion at this point, and I just because I keep thinking about it, it keeps recurring in my head, and I'm going to put it out there because maybe I'm wrong. Because I don't know. It even if no one's listening, even if no one cares, it's never used or anything. I am going to speak my mind and say what I think is true, and I'm going to try. I'm going and I'm going to attempt to set the record straight because I think it's right, I think it's true, and I'm not just gonna give in to apathy and just give up. Yeah, fuck giving up. Fuck it. That's how that just lets it win. That just lets all the problems win. And you have no excuse if you don't even try. So I'm trying right here. it's, they're not. This is just a huge. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5-page list of little scribbles of main points that I think should be addressed, and I'm going to go over them. Now, they're not in a good order, and um, uh, but I'm going to try and make it make sense. Um, yeah, some of them could have been rearranged and make it flow better, but you'll get the point. I think you'll get the point. Anyone who's watching, who can understand English fluently. Okay. Okay, one of the things to address is, let's see. Yeah, people were talking about, the masks, uh, that some of the objections were crazy stuff. Other people have talked about many of these points and addressed them, but I'm going to address them also here. I know many of these things have been covered by other people. I'm just condensing it and putting it into this package for me. So, one of the objections to the mask was that the masks were preventing people from breathing. It, it, there was a guy, he literally put an SpO2 meter and showed that you were getting plenty of oxygen. So those masks, they don't really block oxygen. You could breathe fine, but they do make the breath hot and uncomfortable, especially if you're working out. And there's some people that had problems, and kids, and like it got anxiety and autism don't like feeling it on the face and that sort of thing. But this isn't a real objection. Now I did work out in a mask, and it made it hot, and it was uncomfortable, but it's fine. It's fine. That's not real. That was just nonsense. Now, if you're having a heat stroke or whatever, you're having a real time hard breathing, whatever, fine. Then just take off the mask. But the mask is not really blocking airflow. It's really not. Okay. Next point. Okay, people were talking about the masks don't really work because the virus is so small. Yeah, okay. Now I, I, I was saying the V word earlier, but yeah, it's a virus, and this video is now probably gonna get flagged or whatever by YouTube's algorithm. But I'm going to say virus because that's reasonable. I mean, it's unavoidable at this point. So when I was saying V word, I meant virus. It's obvious. Okay, so the virus is super small and the mask can't block it. Okay, well, the objection into that is the virus lives in water, right? It's got to be carried by little water droplets, and this little droplet, it gets stopped by the mask. Um, the, you, even the really small ones, tiny ones, like they get stuck to the little mask hairs. They move around with like random motions, like Brownian motion, and they will hit one of the hairs and get stopped by them. So So yeah, that's that objection. It doesn't really make sense because the virus sits in, and it's not gonna live outside of the little water and the smallest water little particulates get collected by get stuck to the little fibers of the mask, and they hit them. Even though they're small, they move all over the place with Brownian motion, and they're gonna they hit the they hit the fibers. Okay, next. Okay, yeah, they did tests on the masks. You can see videos of this from like CDC and stuff. Now these are of the bigger size that you can see, but they did a little thing with vapor fumes that you could see, and showed how the mask was blocking it from going very far, and instead it was mostly going up when you had the mask. While if you took off the mask, it would just go straight and cover like several feet of distance. So that's another thing to try to show the effectiveness of masks. It was blocking it, and instead almost all of it was going straight up. Okay, there's videos of that on YouTube. Uh, yeah, so uh, okay, another objection was masks don't protect you because the size of the mask, the little droplets would like get sucked into the side. Um, and this is mostly kind of correct because yeah, little droplets are going to come into the side, but the mask isn't really for protecting you. It's from if you case you have the virus and you don't know it from spreading it to another person. It it's it is key. It's trying to keep your little uh, water uh, droplets and particles like micron size, like point all the way down to point like 1/8 micron size little particles of water with the virus in it from reaching the other person. It's not like going to, if someone else has it, an extreme example, if someone else has it, comes within 1 foot of you and like coughs all over you, yeah, the mask isn't protecting you. It's more of trying to prevent you, in case you have it and don't know it, from giving it to other people. Okay. So, okay. And then people are argue about uh people weren't wearing just masks, like the effectiveness of different masks, from like N95 to little surgical mask to a bandana. And some of the objections were like, "Oh well, they're just wearing a bandana and it's not tight up." Like some of the objections are they're not wearing the mask correctly, or they're just wearing in a bandana and they're and it's not doing anything. Which yeah, it pretty much true. I mean, some barrier like helps, but yeah, if they're not covering their mouth and their face and they're using just a random cloth, it's not as yeah, that's not as good of a design as some of the masks, especially like the N95 mask. And some other objections were uh, uh, with it going up, if you have a low ceiling, it's all gonna stick to the ceiling, and that's true. And people not cleaning surfaces and poor ventilation. Yes, and all of these things are true. If you have a low ceiling and you're not cleaning surfaces and poor ventilation and stuff, then yeah, the mask isn't really helping. The mask isn't helping because it's just collecting on the ceilings and it's sitting in the air and it's not being ventilated or filtered or anything, and people are gonna touch the surfaces, and also because people didn't put the mask on right, they're fidgeting with it and they touch a surface that isn't clean from other people's saliva and they rub all over their face and they get themselves infected that way. Yes, all of these things are true. That's why the masks, a lot of the times you get these studies that say how the masks aren't really effective. Well, yeah, if everyone's not using it correctly and they're just not and they're not doing other things which are more important, like washing your hands, keeping 6 feet distance from each other, to stuff. If they're just and they're not wearing it properly and all these surfaces are dirty and there's no ventilation and the low ceilings is just sticking up there, all of these things, yes, the mask is an added thing for like cases when you're in the grocery store and it's hot and you're not able to maintain 6 feet distance. It's trying to reduce exposure of from one person giving to another. And it just and people reusing the mask. Like, if you cough in the mask a bunch and saturate it and it soaks into the mask, this is another objection I've heard from people talking about this. Then it soaks up and then it becomes like a giant. You cough and then all the moisture just explodes and balloon just goes out. And yes, that's true, but the thing is, if you're coughing a bunch and we're in a situation, the P word, where the government has mandated we shouldn't go outside and stuff, in case you have symptoms, if you're coughing a bunch, you shouldn't go outside. And you shouldn't keep reusing masks. They're disposable masks. You throw them away so they don't get all saturated. And people going out and thinking, yes, I wear a mask, so now I can go to the bar and hang out with my friends and we can hug and touch and sweat and like drink our beer and get our saliva all over our hands and spread them all amongst each other. This is people misunderstanding how to use the masks. And in the end, this could have been true. This might be true. The mask may have given many people a false confidence that they're not going to get the virus because they have the mask. And so they don't wash their hands, they don't wear it properly, and they don't maintain 6 feet, and they just hang out with each other. And that could have... I've heard this from someone. I've heard this, how they literally got COVID because they went to a bar because they thought they were safe because they were wearing a mask. So, yeah. Let's just list out 3 things. Maintaining 6 feet distance, washing your hands and surfaces and keeping things clean and disinfected, and the mask. The other 2 are so much more important. The mask is a supplementary thing, and without the other things, it's basically useless. It's just for cases where you can't maintain 6 feet distance, like in a grocery store or anything, and you break that for a short period of time just to reduce droplet exposure. That's what the intent was. And look, people in the media just fixated on the mask. it be giving false confidence, and it just became ridiculous. And then everyone yelling at people for not wearing the mask, and then people getting all macho and not wearing the mask because people told them to wear the mask, and it just became a disaster. Most of this is about masks. There's other stuff like the vaccine and stuff, but there's so much nonsense. Just the mask just became this symbol, and in the end I think it did more harm than good, just because people didn't understand the purpose of the mask. And it's insane. It's insane having someone yell about a mask who doesn't understand the mask and is going out and hanging out and doing all of these other things that make the mask meaningless. And it would have been better if they had just stayed home, but the mask gives them a false sense of confidence, and they're yelling at people that don't wear the mask as the problem. See where I'm going with this? Where they're both the problem? The people hyperfixated on the mask, thinking it's the end all be all. It's the magical shield that will protect you, like it's a vaccine, versus the people who don't care and get all pissed because we kept on changing how long we had to stay inside, and they just got all macho because they felt like they were being pressured, and then they were like, I'm going to express my freedom of expression and speech to not wear this mask. It became a giant macho thing, and almost no one was wearing the mask correctly, and wearing bandanas and all kinds of things, and not keeping things clean. And just I'm repeating points, but yeah, I would like to not do this next time. There's gotta be a next time. And we have a lot of problems, infrastructure, logistical wise, and this sucked. This honestly sucked how we could turn this into a culture war on the media, on in the stores. Just, it was like such a failure to communicate what we should do and the purpose. It was unbelievable. And in the end, I think it did more harm than good. Because then people started just ignoring all regulations just to be macho, and other people misunderstood regulations and got a false sense of confidence that if they wear a mask, they're good to do whatever. So, yeah. I'm trying to do this concisely and objectively, but my notes are a mess, and the more I'm reliving this, the more frustrated I'm getting. So, I'm sorry. This isn't... I'm not doing this well, but moving on. Yep. Okay. Also, the thing of only affects old people. First of all, there's plenty of young people who got COVID. I said the word. I said the word. I couldn't avoid saying the word. The virus. The virus. This video is gonna get so flagged, but I'm not starting over. Okay. There are so many people who have gotten it, and they're like in their 20s, 30s, and they're like hospitalized. Some have died, and it's bad. But next of all, yeah, but like most diseases, it affects old people more and immune deficient people more. That's how it works. That's how most diseases work. What is this objection? Do you want all the old people to die? Like, what is this? Like, I'm strong and fit, which were plenty of fit people who got it and are died or were hospitalized, and it was bad. So, but then, next of all, even granting the premise, you're gonna be fine, probably. So what? You're gonna go and just spread it around, make it a little incubation chamber so it could go and kill all the old people and all the immune deficient people? Why? Like, do you seriously saying you don't care if it doesn't affect you? There's tons of people who would die from this, and you just be like, oh yeah, come here. I'm gonna harbor you, virus. Let you mutate and spread. Like, I don't understand. Is that seriously your take? Are you not thinking about this? Or is that you seriously don't care if tons of old people die? And not just old people, immune deficient people. But why would you want old people to die? I don't understand this. Now, there were plenty of reasons to not like the lockdowns, like loss of business, small businesses shutting down, loss of jobs, you need to pay rent, all kinds of stuff. But there were several people who were fine and were just saying this because they didn't like that they couldn't go hang out at their bar or their favorite restaurant and stuff. And I don't know. It seemed like it seems like a ridiculous take to me. Now, of course, there's all kinds of reasons, legitimate reasons to have a problem with the lockdowns. Economic, social, several. I get that. But let old people die stance that I'm seriously not strawmanning. This was actual people's arguments. I don't understand. Why would you do that? And if it is really all a self-centered reason, several of those old people have skills and knowledge that are essential to our economy and to people's well-being. And many people love them, and many people care about them. They are important people, all the way to the end of life. So people can do great things no matter what stage of life they are in. It's saying like, oh, they only got 10 years left, we shouldn't care. Okay, yes, if we were to take a general average, someone who has 40 years left of life versus someone who has 10, the 40-year-old economically, on average, is more valuable. Okay. But that doesn't mean old people don't matter. They have tons of skills, knowledge, experience, and not just that are important to society. Wisdom, all of this stuff. And not just that, there's huge emotional connection. Who wants their grandparents to die? Like, seriously. Not many. Next. Okay. Yes, again, studies showing it's not effective, and masks are not effective. Now, there can be several reasons for that. We don't know how well different types of masks were preventing particulates, and how many particulates you need, like on average, a person needs to be exposed to get the virus and all of these things, but I think the main thing is people not using them right, and then or when using them they don't follow other things which are much more important, where the mask is a supplemental thing. Like there were studies saying how masks were making it worse and stuff. Yeah, it's not the mask, it's the people using the mask wrong and then doing other things, not doing other things because of the mask. Okay. Next. Okay. The point is, the general idea, and we don't know I don't know how effective it really was. There's so much stuff. We're gonna get to it, like how the CDC was fudging numbers on effectiveness of masks, and there's so many studies back and forth about the effectiveness of the mask, and that because, like, let's say the N95 blocks like 95% of the stuff, like we don't know how much exposure is needed to get the virus, or how much exposure will is needed to cause how severity of the symptoms and all of that stuff. But so everything's skewed because we didn't do it right. We can't get proper sample sizes, and we can't even trust institutions. We're gonna get to that, institutions, to be honest about the data. So I'm just going to say the general idea. Masks are meant to reduce exposure, quantity, and of droplets and particles, and time and amount, and should greatly affect the probability of getting the disease and how well the body's immune system is able to handle it based off of the exposure. Like most viruses, the concentration and the duration of your exposure greatly affects if your immune system can handle it, and if you are going to become infected, and how severe your symptoms are going to be. So the general idea is you block the droplets, which are a carrying vector of the virus to you, and you greatly reduce the amount that get to people. It should reduce them contracting the disease. Okay, next page. It's already like over 30 minutes, and we've done one page. So, yeah. Probably 2 hours and 30 minutes. Great. I'm going too slow. This is what happens when I'm disorganized. Fine. Mask effectiveness. Yeah. Yeah. The mask effectiveness, if people don't use it right, and people don't do these other things, again, mask is a supplement. If you don't wash your hands, you don't maintain 6 feet, and people who weren't doing these things and wouldn't wear the mask and all of these things, people not doing the protocol right, the whole protocol's effectiveness, mask included, is exponentially reduced with every person who's not doing it. Okay? So, yeah. We'll get, like, what, 30% of people don't do it? No, over 30%. Just looking anecdotally, because I don't have a good study on this, just looking out, 50% at least we're either not wearing masks or not washing hands, or we're hanging out way too much because of masks, or doing all of these, not wearing it properly, all of these things, yeah, at least 50% were not doing the proper procedure, then yeah, it exponentially gets down. And with 50%, yeah, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because it basically is useless at that point. Okay? That's how it works. Yeah, mask is supplement, and yeah, it's the least important of the three things compared to staying 6 feet and washing hands, but it's still important. Yeah, that's a no right here. I've already covered that. Next. Okay. There were crazy things like, okay, if you're an Uber driver and you're going to pick someone up, yeah, wear the mask. That makes sense. But people who were just sitting in the car alone, and they're not an Uber driver, they're not about to pick someone up or anyone else up, they're just sitting there with the mask on. And they're alone in the car. Or if you're in your car with your family. Get this, if you're a normal family and you're not sequestering yourselves in your household or some crazy thing, you're going, if one of you gets it, you're all gonna get it probably. Like, seriously, you all live in the house. Your saliva, and germs, and not germs. Look, you spread vectors all over your household. And if you're alone in the car wearing a mask, who are you protecting? You're not picking anyone up. What are you doing? So some people, I don't know, the mask became such a status symbol, it became like a comfort mechanism. Like a compulsion, or I don't know. It became like a teddy bear. It's just something of comfort. Coping mechanism, that's the word. It became like a coping mechanism. Like, it just didn't make sense. And the worst part is, they thought they were safe if they had it. Just that. Okay, so, and people being outside, and you're 12 feet from like anyone else. In open air. You don't need a mask. There was no point. No point. And everyone, I don't know why the news was talking about, yeah, wear masks outside. I guess maybe if you jog next to someone or something, but there were tons of people in the park. They're 12 feet from everyone else. They never break that 12 feet. They're wearing masks, and I don't get it. There's no point. You're in open air. Outside. Yeah, this isn't really, some of these bits, they're not really relevant to the policy changes or anything, but they're just like a symptom of a misunderstanding of the mask. And I don't know. I'm just annoyed with it all. This is just turning into a rant. This is like, it's already been like almost 40 minutes. This is turning a rant. Okay. Next point. I believe if we had all did the guidelines properly, all the things, washing hands, maintaining 6 feet, wearing the mask correctly, sealed correctly. Oh, and all of the N95s were out. You couldn't buy them. Most effective masks you couldn't buy. But, yeah. If we all did proper ventilation and disinfecting all the surfaces and everything, and we had, along with rapid testing, rapid at home testing, so we could know with like what an 80% certainty it was that if we had it or not. If we had done all of this, I think we could have gone to work much sooner, and hospitals would not have been overloaded. We could have delivered and disinfected food and resources to elderly people and immune risk people, and there would be way less variance because we would not have made an incubation area for the thing. That's if we had solved these basic logistical things of testing and the communication and education and people, everyone willing to do the guidelines and understood the guidelines and understood what was important and priorities and everything, this could have been so much easier. So much. I think we could have knocked it out. This is my opinion. I've read up on this. There's not a conclusive thing on this because it's hard to tell, but I think we could have knocked it out in 3 months. Seriously, we could have gotten back to work. We could have opened things up, and if everyone followed the guidelines, washing hands, maintaining 6 feet, wearing the mask properly, everything, taking this all seriously, and everyone understood, and everything was communicated. We all had the rapid at home testing, and we could have done so much. And all of the people who are elderly and stuff, they could have stayed in their homes, and we could have shipped them food, do the DoorDash thing, disinfected all the boxes we shipped to them. It could have been all solved. And we could have knocked this out in 3 months and been open and made it work. But no, we couldn't do that. That would be reasonable. That would be a reasonable world with reasonable people, with people who were educated and understood. We could be all honest. We could all get on the same page. And that's one of the most frustrating things for me. Right there. Because I sincerely believe that. It's less people would have died, there would have been less variants, and less businesses would have shut down, and we could have handled this so much better. And it really bothered me. Almost everyone wore the masks. Then it became just this symbolic issue in media and politics and just all the hype. And hyping it up on the importance of masks, overhyping it on its criticality, and then downplaying it on the other side. It just was ridiculous. And people being macho, don't tell me what to do, and people turning into complete tyrants of this status symbol of literally someone didn't wear a mask and people didn't wear masks and they got attacked in the street. You're so concerned about your own safety from that other person, but you're willing to go outside, and not only go outside, you're gonna tackle the person that you think may infect you. Look, if they have it, and you tackle them, and you're rolling and getting all your spit and sweat and saliva and all of this stuff, and you're wrestling with them in the street, guess what? You're probably gonna get it. You put yourself at more risk than if you had just kept your distance away from them. I don't get this. But no, it became more of a compliance thing. You must comply. Some people just became complete tyrants. It's not even science-backed. And that it just became a symbol. And people just took out all their anxiety and pent up stuff on each other, and it was ridiculous on both sides. There's not just two sides, on all the sides. It became ridiculous on so many sides. Okay, and of the two possible scenarios, I mean not two, there's more than that, but of the two main extremes, we either shut it down and we all quarantine and we don't conduct business at all, and the other half of we act like nothing's wrong, we all go about on our normal day. This was worse, because we did a half and half of both, to where we shut down all these businesses and the economy, and at the same time we didn't take it seriously, to the point where we got the problems of both sides and not much of the benefit. Not really. It stayed around. Hospitals still got overloaded tons of times. Way more people died. Way more people got it. And we had to shut down. And at the same time, we had to shut down tons of businesses. And tons of businesses closed. And people lost jobs. And the economy, it had so many problems. And the Fed just increased the money supply so much. And so many things. And the stimulus, welfare checks, and all the nonsense. We somehow took two bad extremes and we combined some of the worst aspects together without getting the main benefits supported by each side. This is a worse scenario of those two extreme options. That's what we did, because we couldn't agree to stick to either plan, and we didn't communicate, and we didn't understand, we didn't follow guidelines, and it was like a tug of war of crap, of bullshit, and it amounted to just nonsense, utter domino of ridiculous. Yes, I don't. That's my opinion. Of the two extreme scenarios, we literally act like there's no virus at all, and we go about like how Donald Trump wanted us at the first part to do. Crazy, act like there's no problem, which I'm not advocating for. I'm just gonna make that clear. I'm not advocating for that. Or we went full crazy and we just shut everything down, and we had not went outside at all, and it would have been gone just by us purely not limiting our interaction so completely. We didn't do either strategy. We did a mix, and it resulted in just nonsense. We didn't get the benefits of either. We got this. Hospitals still shut down. Businesses still failed. This is just a failed policy. Just failed policy on so many levels. Okay. After everything, and since people weren't going to take it seriously, I think I personally think we should have opened the economy after 6 months. Or alternatively, optimistically, like everyone, like scientists and the medical professionals wanted us to do. Or again, we could have all followed the protocol, understood the protocol, did it all disinfecting things, maintaining 6 feet, wearing masks properly, get good ventilation, just all the things. We could have knocked it out in 3 months, but that's optimistic. So, after all the nonsense, the people who knew what they were doing and were going to take this seriously, were going to do it, and the others were not going to do it anyway. So they were still going to do it. So what did it matter? We might as well have just, after 6 months, have opened up the economy. We were still having hospitals shut down and all this stuff. Now, I could be wrong about this, but this is my personal opinion on the matter. That's my personal opinion. Because people who knew what they were doing and stuff and took it seriously we're still going to do that, and people who weren't, we're still not going to. So what was the point? Just shutting down businesses by the government didn't seem to really help anything. So just open it up after 6 months. Because we can't get together and knock it out in 3 months by just following basic protocol. And properly communicating and understanding what we're supposed to do. And we couldn't get focused on rapid home testing and ventilation and disinfection, which we needed to do. People are mowing out there, so hope this doesn't affect the sound quality, but too far in, still going. Now let's compare two places in general, just because they're the big states and they're like two polar sides. Texas versus California. Texas only had 30% more deaths per capita. So I'm just saying, that's not in the policies versus Democrat versus Republican of things in politics. 30% difference. It's not much. It's just a little tidbit there. So in the end, that's the result. Okay. Possibly, under some studies, it's if completely untreated, all hospitals overloaded, complete catastrophe. The mortality estimate is around 10 to 15%. So we had, in the end, less than 1% of the United States die. So that seems a lot high, but that's what the studies say. I don't know. We didn't go in that scenario, and our hospitals weren't overloaded the whole time, and we were treating it, and we were taking it seriously. But if we completely ignored it and completely untreated, its estimates 10 to 15%. Okay, then there's hypocrisy among government stuff. There's hypocrisy of shutting down some businesses and restaurants and stuff, but not others, because of political favors and stuff. And watching politicians not wear a mask and just go out and stuff while they're doing the opposite of what they said in California and many other places is a problem. It's telling people they can't go to work, but saying, oh yeah, all these protests of people literally packed in the streets, that's okay, but not people going to work. The hypocrisy is on another level. All the credibility out the window. You it's a double standard. It's a political double standard. Yeah, okay, all the protests, cool guys, yeah, get all out in the street. Yeah, you wear masks and that's okay when you're literally huddled together, touching each other. Like, what? We gotta stop the virus, but it's all so you can't go to work for your job and pay the bills and put food on the table for you and your family. But all the protests, that's cool. Seriously. Okay. And I want to know, did the protests even accomplish anything? What did they accomplish? So many protests I see they're not dialogue. They don't, most of them are not a dialogue. They do not say specific changes or address problems or policies. They're just complaining. They just talk about an issue or a problem. Sometimes an overblown issue, which is not even really an issue. And when it is, it's an issue. They just complain about it. It's just complaining. But I don't, and that's more important than work. All credibility out the window. The hypocrisy among the media and the politicians was staggering. It was a parody, like South Park. It was or other comedic shows. It was satire on another level, and it was real. Like, the hypocrisy, another fucking level, not another level. I was actually flabbergasted when seeing it. Why is anyone supposed to listen to you when you won't even apply these same principles to yourself? Going out, telling people they can't open the restaurant, shutting down restaurants, keeping your favorite restaurant open, and telling people they can't go outside, they can't go to work, while you're literally in a meeting, no mask, not following regulations, and just sitting around, just breaking all of your rules. Because what? That's for the peons? That's for the people who you brainwash and you rule over? Honestly, like, I don't understand what is with our elected officials. From across this nation, many states, California, many others, just it made it startlingly clear. Many things got startlingly clear. From our logistical problems, infrastructure problems, lack of education, institution corruption, hypocrisy, political media just crap, and inequities among communities, poor communities, segregated communities, people of color, disparities. All of these things got so brought to light. Honestly, it's a crisis. Problems like this really showcase the inaccuracies, ineptitude of the systems we have in place in society. And I'm trying to do my part here to help a little, but I want the truth to be out there, and lots of things need to get fixed. lots of things on many levels. Access to healthcare, so many things. And it would be nice to just have representatives that don't become tyrants, don't destroy lives, and at the same time be hypocrites about it. This is really turning into a rant. This is taking too long, and this is turning into a rant. It's been like an hour. Oh, okay. Okay. Another thing about the masks on if their effectiveness. Now, this has been told to me, and I could see the argument. This is potential. I don't think this is probably the case, but it's a potential flaw in mask design and stuff, and affects their effectiveness. Okay, masks could create small droplets by some droplets colliding with other droplets that are stuck to the fibers. Now, there's a lot of space as long as you're not saturating the mask, coughing a bunch, or reusing the mask. As long as you're changing them out, I don't think this would be a problem because there's a lot of space relatively. But if you have droplets and they hit other droplets, they could release smaller droplets out and then get away from the fibers, and then on the other end, like they could be like 0.1 micron size or whatever on the other side of the mask, and they could get across just by like collisions of droplets onto water particles onto other water particles, and then the virus could get carried out that way on the other side. That's a potential objection to the effectiveness of the mask design. And I haven't seen a good study on the other side of the mask or addressing this potential issue. So yeah. Droplets stick to the little fibers, and then smaller droplets hit them, and then they burst and then release even smaller droplets out, and some of them get through. And this is another part. Really small droplets, like 0.1, 0.2 micron size droplets. Those things they're like a cloud. They just hover in the air. And if you get a whole bunch of them, it's just like a cloud. It's an infection cloud. And if you don't have proper ventilation, they could just sit there for 3 hours. So someone could just you maintain 6 feet or whatever, or you're wearing the mask and trying to prevent it, but if it makes enough of these out and it makes a cloud, someone could just walk into it, and without proper ventilation stays there for like 3 hours, and you could just walk into it and just get it all. It comes through the side of your mask and it infects you. So that's a potential problem, and I haven't seen a good study testing that. But again, we don't really know the effectiveness. We just know theoretical designs of how we know how the mask is supposed to work. We look at droplets it collects through Brownian motion of the little ones, and then there's like the N95. It has like electric charge to attract the medium ones to it, and it gets bigger ones, and so we know the design and how it's supposed to work mechanically, but the mechanisms of its design and stuff. But because we weren't using it properly, and it just skews the data so much to where we don't know in the end how it would work, because we didn't go down the scenario where it was used right and could be tested, along with conjunction of it's a supplement and we weren't doing the other things. So that's a problem. Okay, but for sure, not nothing's 100% certain, but I'm confident the N95 mask and its design works. Um, I Miniphysics is a YouTube channel and did a video on the design. And the N95 is used for all kinds of things, for woodworking and sawdust and painting and all kinds of things. This mask works in so many, filtering with so many things. It makes a really nice seal on your face. So, and in metaphysics, he talks about the design, the Brownian motion, electric charge of the fibers, and how all the layers mesh work together. And it's a good video. I recommend it. So yeah, look up metaphysics. It's a YouTube channel, and it has a video on the N95 mask, and I believe the N95 works. I believe it works. It's just they weren't available. It's now the effectiveness of the other masks, from surgical masks all to bandanas. I don't think bandana really works, and the surgical masks, tons of people weren't wearing them right and stuff, so I don't know how well they work, honestly. They may have been completely useless. But I believe the N95 was good. It's just, of course, it all got sold out and couldn't buy them for many people. So yeah. Plus, people in hospitals need them more. They're the ones with all the patients. So yeah, they need them. Now, again, about exposure thresholds, I haven't seen a study really on like what exposure is needed on average to get it and to become infected, and to the droplets. So without that, I don't think we really can tell. Even theoretically, if everyone did it properly, how effective the mask would be. Because if it's a super low threshold, then it could not matter, because the mask can't block that much. So, but we don't know. It's just, again, the general idea of significantly reduce amount of droplets reaching the other person, and reduce their exposure should, in theory, by logic, reduce the probability of exposure. But without that, knowing the thresholds, and every person's situation is different, and their exposure threshold is different. Different people have different immune systems, different medical conditions, all of that, different risk factors. So we don't know. We just don't know. But the key point is it's a supplement, and we should have taken this seriously, And in case it I think it does work. And just in case it does, do it. Every little bit, try to make it help. Of course, the other things are more important. It's a supplement. Wash your hands, maintain 6 feet, all of that stuff. Disinfect everything. Proper ventilation, all this stuff. This is all important. But everything was about reducing probability, reducing risk. You should take it seriously, and we should have added it all together and done it. And I get there was hypocrisy and tons of people making a symbolic issue and being tyrants about it. But seriously, both people, the people who were just trying to just control and force people to submit, and the people who were just being all macho, oh, you can't tell me what to do, it's my freedom of expression, yeah, I'm not gonna do it because you told me to. Yeah, being all macho and stuff. You're both ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It didn't have to turn out this way. You made it this way. Together, you synthesized bullshit. Okay. Okay. Media and politics kept sending mixed messages. You go from one news source to the other, downplaying it, overhyping it, they literally contradicting each other on a weekly basis. So many mixed messages, no wonder people were confused. Again, people not wearing the mask properly. The CDC did a study on the mask, and they purposely exaggerated effectiveness. They're supposed to be the objective, non-biased people, the institution of truth. And they lied. And they justify it because because it's important, and they're trying to reduce the spread, and they think like me that it's important that the masks do work and they do reduce risk and the probability, and they probably got political pressure and funding, threats of funding cuts and people being fired and all kinds of things, but it doesn't change the fact that they tarnished. No, I'm addressing the CDC directly. You tarnished the people's trust in science and our institutions. You can't take this back. This is probably going to affect things for the next 30 years at least. And you lied to people. You lied about the numbers. As scientists, as people who are supposed to pursue truth, how dare you? How fucking dare you? If they were going to fire you, threaten to pull funding, then go out with dignity. Seriously. You have tarnished your institution. You've tarnished science. You've tarnished the pursuit of truth. You're a fucking disgrace. It's disgusting. It sickens me to my fucking core. I I was in shock finding this out. Government and political corruption, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, isn't it? It's little fucking tentacles of bullshit reaches every crevice, everywhere. And you have lied to the American people. And I get the American people, a lot of them didn't take this seriously or didn't understand or didn't listen. But there are many who did. And still, your justification, what did it even help? Did it even fucking help? This is just disgraceful. You lied about effectiveness. You lied about the numbers. Boost them up because what does it matter? It's the general trend, right? Right? All that money will use for so much good, won't it? Won't it? Well, you'll just lie on another state, won't you? Lie on another, lie on another. What does it matter? Little white lies. It's a general trend. I'm doing it for public safety. And then you will brag and say how you are preventing misinformation. What the fuck? You're the misinformation. You... It's fucking doctors. What the fuck? You took oaths. Well, you're paid through tax dollars. Like, you have broken so many duties. You obscured the pursuit of truth. You lied and you twisted, and you're gonna justify it. You're gonna do so much good with that money. And the next time they fucking ask you to lie again, you'll just do it. Oh, all the money will go good. Just an endless cycle of lies, and you're doing so much good, aren't you? So much fucking good. There was the option where you could have gotten fired, could have lost your job, could have lost your pay, could have lost your benefits, could have lost so many things, but you would have had your dignity. You would have your honor of telling the truth, of being a beacon of truth and standing by your principles. And you could have fought them. You could have done a lot of things. But no, you took the coward's way out. And then you justify it. And say how you're so much better. You're helping people. And you're making the world better. You're gonna do so much fucking good. All lies. Lying to yourself. More lies. Here we go. Dr. Fauci We could say all the bullshit lies of Trump, but you took from a lying con man. You would stoop down to his level, become a liar just like him, didn't you all? Here, lies of shutting down debate from social media and on the news, in popular politics, on the possibility of a lab leak. Because always trust the science. Science being publicized. Yeah, we're on the side of science. And shutting down questions. Yeah, what's more scientific than shutting down debate and shutting down questions? Yeah. Real essence of science right there. You can't question things. Yeah, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous that the public thinks that the virus was created in a lab by scientists who were negligent and let it out. Oh, but wait. That could be exactly what fucking happened. And then lying about, oh, it can't be because look at the shape of the fucking virus and it's yeah, that's fucking disgusting and disgraceful. Yeah. You have become tools to go against the very idea of science. It's politicized, and we say, we are the party of science. While we literally use you as a puppet head and use science to turn it into a fucking religion of authority. Don't question the authority of science. I have the degree, so whatever I say goes. Is you lie and you use that degree and you twist it for bullshit, spreading falsehoods because it's politically advantageous. Don't question the science. Don't be questioning. Don't think. The entire point of science is to question. It's to be skeptical. It's to test and predict and think. And you have turned it into the opposite of that. You have perverted it. You're telling yourself you're doing so much good. You have fucking perverted it. Keeping people from being expressed their free speech, shutting down it with your algorithms, shutting down on media, mocking them, putting out pieces to obscure reality, lies on lies and studies, just to turn it into a religion. Why don't you go fucking join the Catholic Church? Go burn Galileo. Go fucking terrorize people who just fucking question shit. To think and question your authority. Don't flash your fucking degrees and say, I'm too smart for you and don't question me. You're supposed to spread truth. You're supposed to be a vessel for truth, to answer questions, to welcome open debate, open and honest. And you have violated all of these principles. For what? Could have died with dignity. That would be better than what you have become. What really concerns me is we had all of these problems with just this. It could be so much worse. less than like 1% died in the United States. I'm concerned about a really bad pandemic, like Black Plague shit, where we get 15% of the population dead, or terrorism, just designed or organisms, biological warfare. We are so underprepared. This has shown us that. People go outside and just spread it and act like everything's normal and just kill everyone. What the fuck? Seriously, what are we going to do if the situation was so much worse? Would we all 15% of us just die? 30%? Biological warfare, terrorism, just random mutations, random disease. Could we just die? The amount of bullshit, how it spreads, could overpace our technological ability and our infrastructure ability to handle this. That is what this has shown us. This is a huge disaster. Bill Gates has been saying this shit for years. So many other people too. So many medical professionals. And this better be a wake-up call. I really hope. If a good thing were to come out of this, I had to be one of them. Probably won't though. Especially when we have institutions lying, the media lying, and contradicting information, and no one can get on the same page. So much misinformation and fake news and nonsense. Yeah, next point. Now there is so much misinformation, lack of institutional trust, that people won't even get the vaccine. This is what is created. Oh my god. And next of all, businesses have the right to mandate masks and vaccines to protect themselves, workers, and customers. This is not tyranny. They are a private business. They get to do what they want. You don't like it, you are free to shop elsewhere. You are free to work elsewhere. Now it's another thing if you have the government trying to force people. It's your body and it's your choice. But businesses have control over their property. You don't like it, you can work somewhere else. Now, the government shouldn't force you to take a vaccine. I recommend the Pfizer vaccine for COVID. I got it. I got my card in my wallet. And I got the boosters for the variants and all that. But it's your body, your choice, and the government should not mandate that you put on a mask or that you get a vaccine. But private businesses, people's homes, do not trespass. That is their property. You don't like it, you go somewhere else. You work somewhere else, you shop somewhere else, etc. That is not tyrannical. That is them and their choice trying to protect themselves, their employees, and their other customers. And workers. Just okay, now talking about government mandate. It's the military. we're gonna get into some of the problems with some of the vaccines and like blood clots and stuff, but in general, the government should be allowed to mandate you getting their policies for the military. You have signed up and signed your body up to be used as an instrument of war to defend this country. And you work at the pleasure of the military. Now, if you refuse, there's so many reasons you could refuse. It is your body, your choice, and I do not believe you should be dishonorably discharged. That should not happen. You should be discharged normally, with the subsequent benefits for your previous terms of service and all of that. But the government should be allowed to mandate it based off of what they believe to be true, based off of evidence and science, even though now we can't trust institutions and experts, to be honest. Just sour apples, sour the bunch. But the government should be able, for its military, to decide policies to protect the military. It is honestly mostly just a strategic thing. You want to protect your soldiers, protect your brothers and sisters in arms from getting the disease that could kill them. It's another enemy, and by essentially you refusing to follow protocols is essentially like someone. It's like someone harboring the enemy, like harboring a terrorist in your body to come out and later kill people, like to kill your comrades. It's just a strategic thing of trying to keep. It's another thing to keep people safe. You know, historically, people die not mostly from direct combat or wounds of combat. People die from disease, from like cuts on the foot, in trenches, in mud, in shit, and just pestilence. Most people die in war from the pestilence rather than the war. Historically. Now, because of modern medicine, that has changed. But it is not effective if you don't utilize modern medicine. It's just a strategic point to keep your soldiers healthy and to not die of disease. It's a simple thing. So, that's my stance on it. But no, you should not be dishonorably discharged. You could do it for your own. It's your body, your choice. You opt out of military service. Just if you refuse. But I think you should be discharged normally and all of that. But that's my stance on that. And now some things on the vaccine. Misinformation. Okay, the vaccine does not directly change the DNA. Okay, instead, with the mRNA vaccine, messenger RNA gives ribosomes instructions to reorganize proteins based off of the virus shape, and so they produce proteins off of the information of the virus shape to identify it, to then produce antibodies, and it makes these proteins in the where the ribosomes are located, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and that's outside. That's a separate organelle structure from the nucleus where your DNA is housed. The messenger RNA just goes there and communicates with the ribosomes. So it's a separate structure. DNA is in the nucleus, rough endoplasmic reticulum, where all the proteins are folded and stuff, is a different organelle. So it does not directly change your DNA. That's one of the conspiracies I'm trying to explain away. Okay. The effectiveness, you gotta get like an antibody count. Some people, to know the effectiveness of the vaccine and how long it works, because you can lose its effectiveness and how many antibodies you're producing over time. You got to get an antibody count. Again, do the boosters for variants and all of that stuff. Yeah. So, got to get boosters for the variants, and thinking now this was a somewhat rushed. This was a rushed vaccine, but it's not like they just released it out. They tested it on tens of thousands of volunteers. And before releasing it out to the public. And now, what, like, over 200 million people in the United States have taken it? Anyway, oh yeah, here's another conspiracy response. It is not okay. People think it's poisoning you. It is not poisoning you, and we can't. And people think there could be tracking chips. Okay, we cannot make tracking chips that small yet. And if we could, like, there's so many ways they could put it. They could put it in your water if they could do that. Like, seriously. And where is all this concern now? We have, like, where's all the concern about poisoning and tracking chips from the government? We got stuff like, we have estrogen in the water, some lead in there too. We got microplastics and preservatives and pesticides, all messing up your hormones in your body, making you unhealthy. And we got cancerous deodorant. So many things is cancers. Everything it causes cancer now. So many products are carcinogenic. It's ridiculous. And makeup and all kinds of nasty cancerous and all kinds of things in all these makeup products, poisoning you. High fructose corn syrup trigger insulin response and making you unhealthy and fat. Like, from estrogen messing up your hormones, all kinds of microplastics, all kinds of shit, all the pesticides I've already said, cancer shit. Oh, so many things are poisoning you. If you're concerned, can we address these things? These are legitimate things that are problems in society, and can we address those? Like, where did all this concern come from? You're cool with all of this shit, but you're hyper vigilant about a new vaccine? Seriously? And then about tracking. You have a phone. You have a phone. You call the phone company, gives reports to the government and people who pay them of tracking all of your voice calls, all of your calls, and there's GPS in your phone. The companies can access this. All of your apps, all the metadata, the government gets it. Like, I don't understand. Tons of chips have back doors. Company chips of CPUs have back doors for, like, the NSA and stuff. And you carry this phone everywhere. And you use unencrypted drives. And Windows. Windows users. Like, you're a Windows user. How? Not everyone who was bringing up these things is this, but almost all of them are. And you use Google and social media. All these things track you. And unencrypted messenger services. So your drives aren't encrypted, your messages aren't encrypted. You really care about privacy? I already told you about the things you should care about for poisoning in society, but you really care about privacy? Get a burner phone and put it in a Faraday box. Keep people from tracking you. Use Tails. Stop using Windows. Use Tails OS. Use Tor. There's other Linux distros you could use, but I personally like Tails. There's Unix and other things, but use Tor. Stop using Google. Like, what the hell? Use Tor browser. You could use Molvat VPN. Don't use the other VPNs that record your. You use Molvat VPN and you go pay through Tor and you use Monero or some other privacy coin. Use Signal. Use Signal for messaging. Use Monero. So use Signal on your burner phone. You encrypt all your drives. Use Monero or other privacy coins for payments. So have your credit card, which tracks everything. Which the bank statements track everything. The government can just get that. NSA just gets all of that. Use proper encryption. You can use MySudo, an all-around app service on your burner phone. There's Tuta Mail, or for encrypted mail. You got encrypt your DNS too. So VPN and DNS encryption. And don't post everything on social media. All those pictures with all the metadata showing everyone where you are at the time, and you want stuff. Go to blogs. Go on Tor. Go to TorChan. Don't use social media. Okay. This video is getting really long. It's gonna be 2 hours. Okay. Other things. Other things the CDC has tried to suppress. This was brought up to me by other people who I was trying to convince of the vaccine, to get the vaccine, which is still, I support the Pfizer vaccine, but Johnson & Johnson vaccine and others, in some cases, it can cause blood clotting, especially with people who have a history of blood clotting and a genetic factor of blood clotting. So people who are concerned with blood clotting, some of the vaccines can increase your risk of blood clotting, especially if you have a previous history and or family members you could have inherited from. So people have died of the vaccines from blood clotting. Also, some people have died from just like anaphylactic reactions and other things, but the blood clotting has not been shown in messenger RNA vaccines like the Pfizer vaccine. It has not been shown in there. It's the non-messenger RNA vaccines like the Johnson & Johnson and other one. I don't remember its name. It's like a European company, I think, but they can cause blood clotting. So if you're concerned about that, you could get a messenger RNA vaccine like Pfizer's one. And again, another conspiracy theory. Yes, Pfizer has a huge incentive for you to get their vaccine. They're a pharmaceutical monopoly. Of course, that doesn't mean all pharmaceuticals don't work, or some government crazy some government conspiracy. I'm not trying to shut down debate or ideas. I'm I'm free to discuss things, and maybe you could even be right on some things. But overall, no. Just talking about vaccines in general, medicine works, and there's tons of research on messenger RNA vaccines, and it says this is a technology that has been worked on for like over 10 years now, and just because there's a monetary incentive doesn't mean it doesn't work. Yes, of course they want you to get the vaccine. They're still providing a service, and the vaccine is important. Okay, so if you're concerned about blood clots, and the CDC was trying to suppress this, so it was very hard to get information about this. And of course they say, because some people are overblowing how many people get the blood clots from this. So, and there's misinformation about it and how bad it is and stuff. But the CDC was repressing it and saying, literally justified it in some of their papers, saying how they have a duty to stop misinformation, acting real high and mighty and stuff. Yeah. There's a difference between you could explain studies and not just suppress them, and you could clarify, and it's real high and mighty to try to cover inconvenient truths and say how you're stopping misinformation after you lying in studies. I don't know where you get the nerve. Well, I think I do, but pissing me off. Okay, another thing. CDC, they could have. Now, this could have been. They could have not been lying here. I don't have real evidence on what the situation was. They could have just been overestimating early. But vaccine effectiveness was originally like being reported at like by the CDC and other people at 93%. Studies now show it's more like 70% to 80%, but that's still pretty good. That's useful. That's a very useful vaccine. It's just not, but it's not as effective as what they were earlier reporting of 93%. But vaccine effectiveness, current studies say 70 to like 80%, around there. Now, we have reached herd immunity. Over like 70% of the United States is vaccinated and stuff, so it doesn't matter nearly as much. It's basically done. That's why we're all open and we can do everything, but I still encourage the vaccine. And I'm concerned about this distrust of vaccines because this is very dangerous. Like I said before, if other more serious, worse pandemics and diseases happen, just normal biological or potentially a biological warfare and terrorism, this could be a huge problem, especially if people are so distrustful of our institutions after the lies that in the media and all of the politics and bullshit and hypocrisy and to really stepping over the line of approaching tyrannical laws and mandates, of not respecting rights to speech, suppressing speech, and respecting body autonomy and rights to your body. That's a real problem. It is a real problem. People keep being so distrustful that they won't give vaccines for the future diseases. This is a real problem. And there's all of the logistical and infrastructure problems that also need to be solved, and all the community and poverty and disparities. So many things need to be addressed. But so many, like I said, exponentially, things are not effective if we don't communicate and we don't follow protocols and don't understand and don't do proper procedure. And this is really concerning. So that's why this video exists. I'm trying, like I said, to hopefully provide some measure of truth for the future, to learn from the problems of this time. Okay, and again, don't know if we can trust the CDC, but they reported death from the vaccine is around 1,000. So it could be they're suppressing that number, and it could be higher. But the death from COVID is around 1 million reported. So yeah, that's like 1,000 times difference. Well, no, not 1,000. Sorry, that's like 100 times difference right there. So no, I've been talking so long I can't even do math. Yeah, no, it's 1,000 times difference right there. So if you're concerned about blood clotting, there's no, it has, blood clotting has a risk has not been shown in messenger RNA vaccines. So get the Pfizer vaccine. And I've tried to dispel some of the other conspiracies and concerns about the vaccine. And just look, if these numbers are to be believed, and maybe if you don't believe them, but anecdotally, I don't know anyone who has died of the vaccine. I know a couple people who have died from COVID. So I think it's safe to say, overall, that deaths from the disease is way more than the deaths from the vaccine. Significantly. And if we were to trust these numbers, say they're somewhat accurate, it's like 1,000 times difference. So one's 1,000 times safer, and it's giving you like 70, 80 to 80% protection against effectiveness from getting from getting the disease, from getting the virus, than not having it. So I think that shows what's clear if you're concerned about your health. And of course, there's different people with different immune systems and stuff, but some of the healthiest people running marathons and crap died of COVID. So that's it. I think that's everything. That's my piece. It's almost 2 hours. But yeah, I made this video to try to dispel with all of the misinformation and stuff, and present what I believe to be the truth for the future. Okay, well, that's it. Goodbye.